All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's YouTube video. It is the 5th of March. Welcome to the fourth trading day. I hope everyone has been having a great day so far. I also hope everyone had a good trading day so far. So yeah, I ended up seeing two opportunities today. I ended up missing one and then I ended up catching the other, which I'll also talk about later in the video. But yeah, without further ado, don't want to waste your time. So let's just get right into it. All right. So before we even begin, I want to state my bias. So coming into the day, I was honestly leaning a little bit more bullish. The reason for that is because honestly, it's just because if you look at the price action, you can see that we're like trending a little bit lower, but we're generating like tons of low resistance liquidity. So in my head, I'm like, that's a really good draw. Especially like I could see us going both ways, where realistically, I could see us kind of trending lower. And if I wanted to be bullish, I kind of wanted to see like a resweep, right? And then continuation higher. Or honestly, see something like continuation and then like, or seeing like displacement, sweep into like a 5 minute condition, and like just continuation higher, something like that. Towards this unfilled 5 minute, right? Towards this 1 hour intermediate high, right? So something like that, and I'll just show y'all, right? Hourly intermediate high. Cool, awesome. So yeah, and then we had an unfilled 4 hour below, 30 minute below. So honestly, if I wanted a long, I could see us going lower and then continuation higher. Perfect. Yeah, so that's kind of my main bias for the day. I could also see us being short. So like let's say like if price ends up sweeping all the way here, we aren't able to catch an entry. Maybe we could look for a continuation model towards like some unfilled gap down below. Hint, hint, spoiler alert. But yeah, um, that's basically was my plan for going to market open. Uh, ES kind of had similar behavior, nothing really too vital, but yeah, let's just get into it. So market opens, we have like a big displacement. And then what do we end up doing? We created a 5 minute condition. Love to see it. 5 minute condition. So my thought process with this is just since we didn't really have any displacement lower, what else could we do? Just generate that condition of like, all right, well, since we're here, if we're gonna draw into this, like what are we looking to react out of? So if this reacted, um, sorry, if we'd end up like rejecting off of this, then we could trade towards that unfilled five, or sorry, that's 5 minute intermediate high, this one above two, right? So that's a good narrative. And then if not, if we end up invalidating it, then perfect. I could catch, a short towards like this unfilled four, and yeah. So either way, it's like looking at conditions. One more thing I kind of want to note is that like if we did end up invalidating this, I'm not necessarily ready to take shorts yet. Um, in the sense that like, what are we bouncing off of on the higher time frame? In my head, we're not really bouncing off of anything. So realistically, I don't really want to like take an entry off of this unless I'm like completely sure, which in this case, I'm not. So yeah. And let's just get going, right? So we ended up sweeping into the five. Traded. We went like near the wick or near the C of the candle, but we didn't displace below it. We didn't have any bodies closed below it. It's a really good sign. And then ended up sadly, very sad, very distraught. I'm very distraught. Closing above this 1 minute inversion. Highest time frame candle. There wasn't really any on the two, on the three, four, and five. I don't really have to look. Whatever. You guys get the idea. Highest time frame inversion. Didn't end up taking it just because I didn't see it with my like freaking eyes. Freaking morning eyes. I didn't see it. And then honestly, this kind of made me have a little bit of FOMO because I was like, oh, I could catch a trade when it sweeps back into here. I could like definitely, go for here. And then where do we like look, where do we want to go towards, right? Like where are my draws? I want to draw towards this like 5 minute intermediate high as maybe a break even and then target this buy side liquidity. And then where would I put my stop? Obviously, probably at the body, to be honest. Because we ended up also having like a resweep right here. So like ended up having that resweep, not an SMT, sorry, it's a resweep, right? And then continuation higher. So yeah, and let me just Let me just make sure if there was an SMT. Yeah, so there wasn't really an SMT there. Would have been extra confluence to go higher, but what can you do? Can't do anything. We probably could have entered off of the CISD, but honestly, I'm just trading inversions. I don't really want to look for that right now. Either way, though, it would have played out. It would have played out in the end because eventually we just get towards that 5 minute and then close this. One more thing, I know that like y'all are like really care about the like candle wick and mitigation, which I do too. It's a great point to have. If like see the wick of this wick, more than likely if we tap into it, we won't tap into this wick. But in this situation, it's a good target to draw towards. I don't really care if it mitigated above. I also don't really care. I do care if it gets invalidated, right? Because then it would just invalidate the whole candle. Um, but in this situation, it's a very good target for us to bounce off of, and probably more than likely, I probably just would have ended it right there at a good 1-to-1 RR. And then honestly, probably would have, spoiler alert, catch another trade off of this if we see price go lower. So yeah. And then from there on, what do we see? What do we end up doing? We end up trading into this 5 minute. Or sorry, this oh my gosh. We end up trading into this hourly intermediate high, right? And then also we created that SMT. And we created SMT with ES. As you can see right here, we're really far below on ES, really far above on, well, not really far above. Well, we are far above on NQ. Perfect. I like what I see. So from there, what are we gonna do? We're gonna set a condition. Love conditions, right? So what do? We created this 5 minute condition, right? Ignoring this. So in my head, I'm kind of thinking, why do we have reason to go lower, right? Ignore that. Why do we have reason to go lower? Well, for one, we have this 5 minute intermediate high right here that used to be our condition, right? And I'll just model it right now. So 5 minute intermediate high, not 5 months. 5 minute intermediate high, and then what is also formed below at that point, we have a 5 minute intermediate low. This honestly also would have been this is a breakaway gap because that 5 minute sweep forms that 15 minute. Honestly, it would have been a really good breakaway gap, and honestly, another confluence that we would have had to trade for longs. But that kind of narrative kind of goes away when we sweep into here, because it's another like key level liquidity pool. So like that kind of makes these valid targets now, right? So this 15 minute unfilled gap down below, right? So this is a forming into like a double confluence, right? 15 minute unfilled gap plus 5 minute intermediate low that we have down here. And yeah, I don't think that, I mean, no, it's still trading. So yeah, we're still kind of in that leg right now. So what am I doing? I'm basically waiting to see if this gets inversed, and we ended up not inversing there. Really, really sucks because I was like, man, if that didn't inverse, then I'm kind of like a little bit hesitant. And then bang, this doesn't inverse, closes above the gap. I'm like, dang, that's actually very, um, I was kind of like a little bit hesitant. And I ended up seeing this entry right here for like a long. But then I'm kind of thinking, we literally just put this out. We literally have an SMT at our highs. Why am I taking longs here? Um, that's kind of my thought process. Maybe some people wanted to take longs there because they thought price was going to go higher. But I was just like, well, we just reacted into this level, so it's already low probability. Didn't really want to take it, so yeah. Um, but yeah, so and then what happened? So we ended up trading a little bit, and then we closed fully below right here. Um, and full disclosure, if price, let's say like close like here, right? I'm gonna make this a little bit better. Like let's say that literally didn't do anything. You know what I mean, right? If price closed like all the way here, like right here, I probably would have waited a little bit more. Honestly, I don't really know what I would do. I would probably wait and see how would price react if we would actually form and keep going lower, and then maybe enter off of like that, like a CSID. Um, you know, 'cause, like honestly, if price closed below here, right? Pretend this bar didn't happen, right? If price closed below here, and then we ended up having like another candle close like below here. So then this would kind of solidify the idea of like a CISD, right? then I probably enter off of that because it's also like both narratives, both confluences kind of go together. So yeah, lower RR, but just makes me feel a little bit better. Um, so yeah, but luckily it didn't really happen. And then what happened? Bang, bang. There we go. We ended up closing below here, and then we had a uh, good one-to-one that we try to target, something like that towards our sell side too, if we wanted to be nasty with it. But yeah, essentially a good trade. Oh, is my webcam okay? All right, whatever. So essentially a good trade, very good trade. I actually really liked it. SMT at our highs, and then we had a 5 minute inversion to the downside with very good displacement, right? CISD, perfect, amazing, very good. Honestly, order block too. Probably could have placed at this order block, which I actually ended up doing once I realized that. But uh, essentially, price ended up did playing out. But I will say that like I ended up kind of messing up my entry, to be honest with you. I ended up trading a little bit like here. I ended up catching the entry a little bit late, being around this level. And then I ended up like I ended up with three contracts, which ended up being a little bit high because the like value here was like 2.6. So I ended up like risking a little bit more. And then I realized, oh wait, this is an order block. I moved it down, fixed a little bit of my risk reward, so I'm not risking too much. And then from there on, waited to see what price action would do. Ended up sweeping to that 15 minute. I'm like perfect, break even. And then at this point in time, right? So this was like around this level. But actually no, it wasn't. Sorry, my apologies. So we were on like right here, right before the sweep. In my head, I'm like thinking, okay, well, shoot, ES at this level kind of already hit this. We low key already kind of hit this gap down below here, which is our sell side liquidity, right? Our like the most prominent lowest point of like recent price action. So I'm like, shoot, we just gotta close that position. So I ended up closing it a little bit early, like probably like right here at a 6.8, something like that. And price ended up sweeping into here. And actually we think we did. So I think we did hit it, and then we ended up going break even, and then price hit, and then we closed. So yeah, it was just a little bit of like a bit of a mix on both ends. But yeah, so why is this wrong? In my process, so low key, this was like a little bit of like a scare thing. I think I'm like making things up, but like maybe I was just trying to select something that was like the nearest like gap, and then I saw this get like immediately swept by ES. I'm like, oh no, price might go higher from there. Like, oh God, like close the position, late entry plus early close equals like unprofitable, I guess. I don't know, but honestly, it is what it is. Why is this low not invalid, right? Well, one, NQ. I think NQ actually has a valid reason. NQ actually does. So this has like a sell side liquidity, which is like an intermediate low, hourly. Yeah, so this is an hourly intermediate low. So honestly, if NQ swept into it, I would be kind of all right. But then looking at ES, right, this sell side liquidity, bro, it's like arbitrary because we didn't really sweep into any PD array that makes this like a intermediate low or anything like that. So honestly, this was like something that I should have just waited instead of um closing the position at this level. But it is what it is. So yeah, that was my mistake. Just kind of like closing early positions out at an arbitrary level rather than looking at like that higher time frame narrative and determining like, is this actually a level where I could actually see price inversing? And then upon review, right, I'm like, shoot, no, like, and then bro, I literally just saw it like crash down on NQ2. So it kind of solidifies that theory of like, okay, I really need to look at that narrative again because let's say my, entry, whatever, is still the same, right? If I was still confident with myself, I would have banged a 1.6-ish trade, if I was just more confident. And what level would I like kind of go TP at? Or sorry, yeah, what level would I go TP at? Well, in this case, maybe this 4 hour, right? If ES ended up sweeping inside this 4 hour, we end up sweeping inside this gap right here, which I think is something important. Um, maybe. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would have TP'd out here because right when ES probably got there. Simply because one is good level price might react off of. So also just like by that point in time, we probably would have banged on a 1-on-1. I probably would have just like closed that position out already. That 15-minute, right? As soon as we stepped into it, I'm kind of thinking like, well, price has a high probability to react off of that. So yeah. And then we kind of end up doing that a little bit, but that's like another narrative for another time. But yeah, would have banged, sadly. Got away with like $300 ish. But you know what? Win is a win, my guy. It just sucks. Just need to work on the execution and, play better on my risk management. But you know what? It is what it is. I can't keep blaming my mistakes, and I just kind of keep have to. Sorry, I kind of said that in a weird way. I meant like I have to acknowledge my mistakes. I have to, be accountable for it. But I can't let it like consume my soul. I can't let it consume my trading. Yeah, I made profit today, but I'm also very disappointed with how I executed it. Um, I could have done better, and it's always taking like another stride to be a better person than I was yesterday. So a lot to learn, um, a lot to consider, and yeah, from there, I just hope that y'all enjoy this video, enjoyed me, monotoning and yapping like I'm MF. So yeah, without further ado, I hope y'all have good rest of your night, and you know, enjoy your meal, talk to your parents, talk to your family, friends, and loved ones, and just wish them a good day. Be grateful for, what you have. And, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for being able to do this and just, journal and kind of share my experiences with everyone here. And so, yeah, I just hope that, you can take some lessons out of this and keep moving forward, keep pushing, because at the end of the day, it's you against the market, it's you versus you. You know yourself better than anybody, so take what you take the knowledge that you have and try to achieve perfection with it. You don't have to, you know perfection doesn't really exist, but if you have that like mindset of achieving perfection, even though that state doesn't exist, then you're going to be improving yourself either way. So that's kind of my process, that's kind of my thinking. And yeah, love y'all. Please subscribe if you enjoy the TED Talk. Bop, bop, bop. Peace.